You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications.
What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review Monday Night Raw from January 24th, 2022. It is the go-home show for this Saturday's Royal Rumble. Of course, the road to WrestleMania 38 in Dallas kicks off this Saturday at the Royal Rumble. Overall thoughts on this show, I'm going to be honest, although it wasn't, the best episode of Raw, this was certainly better than last week. Now, I will say this, there were a couple of aspects and a couple of things on the show that I just did not give a single shit about. Things that were really bad but actually turned out quite good. For example, the whole spelling bee angle that happened between Riddle and the Alpha Academy. I will admit, I was actually quite entertained by that spelling bee. But we're going to be talking about Raw. Of course, we had the weigh-in for Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley before their match at this Saturday at the Royal Rumble. I'm going to be talking about the weigh-in. I did not like the weigh-in. I thought it was really stupid in my opinion. And when it comes to weigh-ins in wrestling, they tend to never work. Keep in mind, AEW did this with Anthony Ogogo and Cody Rhodes last year at the Go Home Dynamite before Double or Nothing, and it was a complete disaster. It was not really that good. And if you watch Rhodes to the Top, you can tell everybody just hated that segment. But the weigh-in on this show was not good either. Weigh-ins to me, especially for a go-home show, is not really that good. I would have much preferred to have Bobby Lashley, or actually no, Paul Heyman and MVP just go at it verbally before, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley just go head-to-head at the Royal Rumble. But I'm going to be talking about Raw. Again, this is the go-home show before the Royal Rumble, which kicks off the road to WrestleMania. I will say this, in recent years, WrestleMania, even though WWE tries to sell it to you as a special, the biggest show of the year, in recent years, WrestleMania to me really didn't feel like WrestleMania. And I, for one, attended two WrestleManias. I attended WrestleMania 35 and I attended WrestleMania 37 Night 1. My very first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 27 back in 2011. And that is arguably probably one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. And that show felt more special than recent WrestleManias, in my opinion. And 27 sucked ass. But in recent years, really, WrestleMania didn't really feel as much of an important show because of the fact that, WWE really markets the Saudi Arabia shows as, if not bigger or if not better than WrestleMania. If you watch those promos for, Super Showdown or Crown Jewel, they really, build up those shows as a bigger show than WrestleMania. Even though they're not bigger shows, WrestleMania is your biggest show of the year. And of course, WrestleMania is going to be a 2-night event. Hopefully this year that WrestleMania is actually special, in my opinion. Of course, it's going to be 2 nights, and I'm hoping for a unification match. If Brock Lesnar teased the unification match with Roman Reigns on, SmackDown all those weeks ago, I do believe we're going to be getting a unification match. But to be quite honest with you, I hear reports that, WWE is not planning to have a unification match at the Royal Rumble. But again, a lot of plans change. You never know what can happen. A lot of people are advocating for WWE to end the brand split because, quite frankly, the brand split is just a dead concept, especially in 2022. But Monday Night Raw kicks off with the weigh-in between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar before their match this Saturday at the Royal Rumble. And I'm excited for this match. I'm actually really excited when it comes to the undercard for the Royal Rumble. We got Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. There are many different ways that you can utilize it. A lot of people are saying that Reigns is actually going to be losing to Seth Rollins, which I do not think that's the case because of the fact that, Roman Reigns is just on the run of his career. And not only that, Seth Rollins, I feel like, if it wasn't for the plans changing at day one, I feel like Seth Rollins would have been the WWE champion and we wouldn't really be in this predicament. But of course, plans changed at day one. But I do think the Royal Rumble is going to be a good show. And of course, one of the matches is Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. And I'm actually really excited for the match because this is a match that I've been advocating for years. We should have got that last year at SummerSlam, but we did not get that, which I don't know why. If you wanted to build SummerSlam as this whole huge show, SummerSlam last year was kind of a letdown in my opinion. We had really the only best match of the entire card was really Edge versus Seth Rollins, and they had a trilogy of matches, and they tore the house down, not only at SummerSlam, but on the Madison Square Garden episode of SmackDown, and of course the Hell in a Cell at Crown Jewel. But we're gonna be talking about the weigh-in between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Overall, again, I've stated earlier right in the beginning of this review, I do not like weigh-ins in wrestling. Weigh-ins kind of, yes, I understand, when it comes to weigh-ins, they have them in MMA and stuff. But in wrestling, I mean, they just never work, considering the fact that they always tend to, it really just doesn't really bring intrigue to it. And I would have much preferred, in my opinion, somewhat of a face-off between MVP and Paul Heyman, in my opinion. I think that would have been so awesome. Now, granted, we all know that Paul Heyman is eventually going to turn on Brock Lesnar, because this whole thing with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman reuniting is, one, it's just something that is just completely temporary. It's not going to be permanent. But to be quite honest with you, I would have loved to see MVP and Paul Heyman just go at it verbally and have that be the last segment of the show instead of the stupid birthday celebration that we got, which, the match between Beth Phoenix and Edge, I did say weeks earlier, I believe it was on my day one review, that this match should happen at WrestleMania. Granted, I later on changed my mind, considering the fact that, they split AJ Styles away from Omos, thankfully, and now AJ Styles is on his own and he is a babyface. I would love to see a match between AJ Styles and Edge, and I'm glad that, this match is happening at the Royal Rumble, considering the fact that, as really the build for this match has just not really been interesting, and really the whole feud between Edge and The Miz, it really all happened because of AEW, and if you don't believe that, I don't know what to tell you. But so Lashley comes out. We're going to be talking about the weigh-in now. So Lashley comes out, and then Paul Heyman comes out, and he is tired of everybody stealing his shtick. So he does the introduction for Brock Lesnar instead of Adam Pearce and Corey Graves that are in the ring, that are really orchestrating this whole weigh-in. He says he introduces Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar comes in like a whole farm cowboy. A lot of people be calling him a farm boy and a cowboy. Shout out to the great one. But which was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really enjoying babyface Brock Lesnar. I've stated this, once, and I'll say it again. Babyface Brock Lesnar, in my opinion, is the best Brock Lesnar. But Corey Graves, this was actually really funny. Corey Graves actually, tells Brock Lesnar that is not appropriate, weigh-in attire. And then Brock tells Corey, "Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like me to get naked?" That was the funniest shit ever. But then Bobby Lashley, he's the first one to go on the scale. Lashley is 273 pounds. Then after that, MVP just puts over his weight, calling him a specimen. Repeated words all the time when it comes to WWE promo segments. Even with the commentators, every time when a big guy like a Drew McIntyre or a Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley come out, whenever it's a big guy or like an Omos, they'd always be using the same words. Look at this colossus. Look at this specimen. One of the main reasons a lot of people really do not like the WWE product nowadays is because everything is so repetitive, and that really translates into the words that not only the wrestlers are saying or the managers. It's really with the commentators as well. Oh, look at this colossus. Look at this specimen. Look at all this blah, blah gibberish. It's ridiculous gibberish. It's words that nobody really uses. And who uses those words? Yours truly, Vince McMahon. But after that, Brock Lesnar is next. And, he just goes on the scale and does his weight. He doesn't take off his shoes. None of that, which is hilarious. Then Lesnar, I think this is right. He weighs in 286 pounds. Lashley gets pissed off and says that Lesnar basically states that he knows he will win the WWE champion. Well, actually, no. Bobby Lashley cuts a promo and says that, he will win the WWE championship, and that is not a prediction. It is a spoiler. Then Lesnar says on Sunday morning, Bobby Lashley beats Lesnar in the Hurt Lock. And then we have a new champion, Bobby Who. So they're really, Brock Lesnar for the past couple of weeks has been doing that whole Bobby Who thing. But that was the weigh-in. Overall thoughts on the weigh-in, I just did not give a shit about the weigh-in. I'm going to be honest, I'm really excited for Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, but I'm going to be honest, they could, especially for a go-home show before a big pay-per-view like the Royal Rumble, they could have done something better in my opinion. I just felt like they could have done maybe, again, have, either be like a face-off or a face-to-face between MVP and Paul Heyman at the last segment of the show instead of the first, in my opinion. That's just me. We get a match that I really did not care about. Bianca Belair versus Queen Zelena. Both lock up. Bianca picks her up and does not slam her. We got a waist lock by Bianca. We got a drop kick by Bianca. Bianca picks up Zelena. Zelena counters into a jawbreaker. Zelena at this point is in control. We get a running kick by Zelena. Zelena then goes to the top, but Bianca comes in with a right hand. Then Bianca picks up Zelena, but Zelena applies a sleeper hold. Bianca runs into the corner and takes Zelena down. Bianca then escapes the Hurricane Rana attempt. We get a Northern Lights suplex by Bianca. Then she hits a vertical suplex. We get a cartwheel moonsault, missed when Zelena gets the knees up. And then Zelena tries to go for the code red, but then Bianca counters into the kiss of death. We get a cover, 1, 2, 3. Bianca Belair beats Queen Zelena, which, as much as I'm a fan of Zelena Vega, this whole Queen Zelena gimmick is so stupid because of the fact that really, when it came to like the King of the Ring tournament and, the Queen's Crown tournament, both tournaments I knew, and I predicted this, the tournaments really do not mean nothing because they're just one-offs that just, are there. There's no really, the winner really does not get anything besides a fucking crown and a name change. You know what I'm saying? And Queen Zelena, I'm sorry, as much of a fan of Zelena Vega as I am, her whole, British accent with the whole, Queen thing, I just do not like at all. That's just my opinion. Bianca Belair, I'm a big fan of Bianca Belair, but I'm going to be honest, this is the match that I just did not care about. We get Kevin Owens, a backstage interview. Owens is pissed off that the interview basically called him a liar about, faking an injury, and says that he will be the United States champion. Spoiler alert, that match ended in a DQ as in typical WWE booking. So we get Damian Priest versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. title. Of course, they had a really good match last week on Raw, which I did not review because the show was just that damn bad. KO tries to go for the stunner. Priest escapes and takes KO to the corner. Owens reverses and hits a couple of chops. Priest then regains control. KO sends Priest to the other corner. Then we get a back elbow by Owens. KO then hits a senton. We get a cover into near fall. We get a right hand by KO. We get repeated stomps by KO. KO tries to go for the cannonball, but Priest catches him. Priest goes for a boot, taking KO to the outside. Priest then goes to the outside and sends Owens to the barricade. Then we get a super kick by Kevin Owens. We get a senton by Kevin Owens from the apron, but Priest gets the knees up. Then Priest chokeslams KO onto the apron. Once we're back from commercial break, Priest is in control. We get a back elbow by Damian Priest. Then he tries to go for the broken arrow, but then Owens fights back. Then Priest takes KO to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. But then Priest takes KO to the top rope. Priest goes to the top. Kevin Owens then hits a headbutt after that. Then we get a tornado DDT from Kevin Owens off the top, which is actually dope. Then we get a cover and a close ass near fall. Literally thought Kevin Owens had that for a second. We get a super kick by Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens runs into a boot, but then Priest plants him to the mat. We get a spinning heel kick by Priest. We get a cover and a near fall. Then KO at this point is selling his knee. It looks like he is faking the injury, but he really isn't. Then he's selling his elbow. But then Kevin Owens tricks him. We get a roll up by Kevin Owens. We get a near fall. Priest then goes for the lariat. Priest then continues to attack Kevin Owens in the corner. And he goes for repeated rights in the corner and then eventually causes a disqualification, which leads to Kevin Owens winning the match. But Damian Priest is still the U.S. champion because of the fact that it is a title match. I will say this was a really good match. I really enjoyed the match. They had a really good match last week on Raw. My only problem is this match ended in a fucking disqualification, as they always do. It's so crazy. Every time when WWE puts effort in a really good match, I shouldn't say put effort, but whenever they have a really good match on Raw, and this can be any match, but if they have a really good match on Raw, they always have to end that match in a freaking DQ. I'm like, bro, let these guys just go at it instead of booking DQs. It's consistent, like it's repetitive. It's not even consistent. It's repetitive. Like it's ridiculous. Stop with these disqualification finishes. I'm gonna put my echo on. Stop with these disqualifications, please. Stop with these DQs. It's ridiculous. I hate those disqualification finishes, man. It's so retarded, man. Kevin Owens and Damian Priest are just so good, and they had a good ass match, but they're focused more on Damian Priest's anger and this whole thing about him his darker side, and I'm like, what are they doing with Damian Priest? First off, they changed his freaking theme song, which there was nothing wrong with this theme song. Again, it's another instance of it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. WWE likes to change shit up for no reason. And then they always just, they do this whole storyline with Damian Priest. I have this darker side, and he comes up with these faces like this. Like that. Like, what the fuck is that? Nobody cares about that. That's dumb. It's stupid. Damian Priest's character was perfectly fine before this whole nonsense started with Damian Priest. I'm sorry, okay? I'm just saying it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's stupid. Whoever is writing this stuff, it really just needs to be fired. I'm sorry. So we get a segment that I thought was actually going to be really bad because of the fact that this, it is a spelling bee in a wrestling show, and I tend to not like these segments because of the fact that it's just it's just that damn stupid. But I will say, it was really entertaining to watch, Riddle especially, and I've been quite, supportive of Riddle. Riddle has been really, he's been one of, the only good things about Raw. Actually, no, RKO in general. I will say he's been, one of really the only good things about Raw for, the past couple weeks. And Raw as a show sucks. It is garbage. It sucks. But Riddle is actually really entertaining, I'll admit. But we get Alpha Academy and RK Bro in an academic challenge, and the academic challenge is going to be a spelling bee. So basically, Gable puts him and Otis over, says that they declared entrant in the Royal Rumble match, and the first challenge is going to be a spelling bee. The winners choose next week's challenge. So Otis is up first, and he spells mental. I think that's what the word is. So it's EMMENTL. I think I got that right. But apparently, so it was so weird. So Otis apparently got it wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. He apparently got it wrong. I'm just reading off my notes right here. I was going quick on my notes. But he spelled that word wrong, but WWE declared it right for some apparent reason. So it was correct. Then Riddle is next. The word is collaboration. Calibration, my bad. The word was calibration. And Riddle, one of the things about Riddle is that, he's just really fucking dumb, but that's his character. That's what I really enjoy about Riddle. He's like, what? What? And he actually spelt the word right. So it was CALIBRATION, and it's correct, which is, again, Riddle is one of the funniest acts in WWE TV right now. I will say this. So then, it was correct. And before he actually spelt the word, he even asked, can he put it into letters? That was the funniest thing ever. Chad Gable is next, and he spells delusion, or disillusion. I think that's what the word is. Again, my notes are, mad small. I got to, close up right there. Yeah, disillusion. So it's DISLLUSION. I don't know why I'm spelling words on a Raw review. That makes absolutely no sense. But he eventually got that word wrong. Part of me is kind of questioning, why am I reviewing this show? Because I'm dead ass reviewing a fucking spelling bee on a wrestling show. Chad gets it wrong, and then Randy's word is next. He gets dumbbell. So he spelled it as DUMBBELL. And he actually got it right. So they win the stupid spelling bee. Look, I hate segments like this where they do stupid stuff on a wrestling show, but I will admit I was quite entertained by the segment. Riddle is hilarious. I know I've said that already, but this guy's just freaking awesome, man. I've seen a little bit of NXT 2.0 these past couple of weeks, and I'll admit, his stuff with MSK has been really entertaining. He was that genie or whatever. His stuff with MSK was really funny. I really enjoyed that. But Randy after that proposes a match with Chad Gable. So we get Randy Orton versus Chad Gable. And I will say this was actually a really good match. As much as I do not like, wrestlers just announcing matches out of nowhere without announcing the match before the show even starts. But I will say, Randy Orton versus Chad Gable was a really good match, even though we've got it so many freaking times via tag team matches and all that stuff, because WWE booking, they do not care. They will literally have a freaking feud last for a whole year and not realize it. But we get Randy Orton versus Chad Gable, and again, this was actually one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion. So both lock up. We got a side headlock by Orton, a wrist lock by Gable. Both lock up again. We got a shoulder tackle by Randy. Both lock up again. We got a side headlock by Orton. Orton goes for a shoulder tackle. So a lot of technical wrestling in the beginning of the match. We got a couple of arm drags by Gable. Randy then tries to go for the RKO, but Gable escapes onto the outside. Gable then tries to go for the ankle lock, but then Orton escapes on the outside. Then we get a couple of chops by Gable. We get a couple of right hands in the corner by Gable. Randy then reverses and goes for repeated rights and a couple of uppercuts in the corner. We get a back elbow by Orton. We get a side slam by Gable on the announce table. Then Orton takes Gable to the inside of the ring, but Gable is on the apron. But then Randy Orton takes out Otis, but then Gable comes in. He goes to the top, and he hits a beautiful ass moonsault. We get a cover and a near fall. Again, he goes for that moonsault. A lot of people like to compare Chad Gable to Kurt Angle, and I really do not blame you if you do. But we go to commercial break. Gable is in control. We get a dragon screw. We actually get multiple dragon screws, I believe, by Gable during the match. Gable then sends Randy into the corner, but Randy fires back with a clothesline. Randy is in control. We get a waist lock. Then we get a backbreaker by Orton. Randy goes for the DDT, but then Riddle tries to attack Otis. But then Otis throws Riddle on the floor on the outside. We get a backslide by Gable, and we get a near fall. We get a power slam by Orton, but then Randy misses the pump kick. That kick, that running kick that he used to do back in the day. Then after that, Gable then tries to apply the ankle lock, but then Riddle hits Otis with the scooter. Randy reverses. He hits the RKO out of nowhere, and I will say, Gable sold that RKO like $1 million, man. This guy sold the RKO like $1 million. I've seen really good sells in wrestling before. Like I can, you can recall like many times if you watch the Austin and Rock matches from back in the day. I mean, Rock would sell the stunner really good. Or I can remember like, in the match with Steve Austin and Scott Hall at WrestleMania 18. I mean, bro, Scott Hall sold that stunner like crazy. And he's, a lot of people say that he oversold it, but I just really liked it. Rock is known to like oversell those freaking stunners, but Gable in this match sold that RKO really well. And, hats off to Chad Gable because this guy's one of the best wrestlers in my opinion. But after that, Riddle he basically challenges them to a freaking scooter contest next week. So, look, as much as I hate those childish, stupid things that they do on television, I think it's going to be entertaining, even though it's going to be stupid. Like, it was entertaining because it was so bad. Like, it was so bad that it was actually good. Like, that was really the whole purpose of this whole academic challenge that they did on the show. But whatever. I was quite entertained by it. It was actually pretty fun. It was actually pretty funny, I'll admit. And I think next week in this, dumb scooter challenge, I hope, they actually do something good, but whatever. WWE actually plugs Bad Bunny's World's Hottest Tour, and they played his Booker T song on the background, which, they could have played other music, but really, apparently that's all the songs that WWE knows of Bad Bunny. I don't listen to Bad Bunny, I'm just saying. We get Alexa Bliss's journey, and I really do not want to talk about this because, again, I was never the biggest fan of this whole supernatural storyline that they were doing with Alexa Bliss. I thought it was a joke. I mean, you want to know the reasons why the show sucks, just turn to this whole Alexa Bliss and Lily storyline. You really want people to believe that, wrestlers lose matches because a doll winked in their face? No! Like, this is so stupid. I was never the biggest fan of this whole Lily storyline. I thought it was absolutely one of the dumbest and stupidest things that the WWE's ever done. And this is one of the reasons why nobody watches the show. It's because this is just really bad creative. So she's asked when, was the first time she met Lily, and, she just talks about Lily and all that stuff. I'm not going to go through it because it was just really bad. We get Austin Theory and Vince McMahon. Honestly, I really do not know what the purpose is with this whole Austin Theory and Vince McMahon thing. But Austin Theory says he will win the Royal Rumble on Saturday. And Vince says that he will face AJ Styles. And then he says that he better bring back a good selfie. And, Vince has been criticized, and he's always criticized because he's the owner of the company, of course. And I can't believe this guy's in his 70s and he still runs the company. But he says that, a lot of people, including myself, have really been criticizing him because this guy talks mad low on television. Like, you can't hear a word on what Vince McMahon says in any of these segments. And honestly, a lot of people are saying this whole thing with Austin Theory and Vince McMahon is to really put over Austin Theory as like a legit star. But to be quite honest with you, I don't really know what's the case. I think that this whole Austin Theory thing is going nowhere. I really think it's going nowhere, and that's just me. But before we get to AJ Styles versus Austin Theory, guys, did you guys know that Veer is coming to Raw? Yeah, man, they have these promo packages, the same promo packages with slight altercations of Veer is coming to Raw. Yeah, it's been, it's almost February, and they've been airing these video packages since October, like the week after the draft. So I can't take this seriously. It's a running meme now on Twitter right now, and I can't blame everybody who really made that as a meme. I laughed my ass off when I saw this Veers coming to Raw last night because of the fact that it goes to show you that WWE really does not know what they're doing with the show, and you can tell that the show is being written like you can tell the show is being written like hours, probably like an hour before showtime. You can just tell. Just by this, you can really tell. But we got AJ Styles versus Austin Theory. This was a good match as well, I will admit. This was a really good match. AJ Styles went over in this match. Both lock up. Then they both lock up again. We get a side headlock by Styles. We get a roll up by Styles, but then we get another roll up, but we get a 1 count. Then we get a roll up by Styles and then another near fall. Then we get a drop kick by Styles, taking Austin to the outside. We get a flying forearm on the outside by Styles onto the outside. Austin regains control. We get a suplex by Austin. We get a near fall. We get a side headlock by Austin after that. We get a couple of chops in the corner by Styles, and then we get a kick by Styles. Then we get a jumping knee by Styles. We get a cover and a near fall. Styles goes for a back suplex after that. We get a cover and a near fall. Austin then regains control. He works on Styles into the corner. Then he sends Styles to the other corner of the ring. He tries to suplex Austin, that being Styles, but then Austin Theory escapes. Then Austin takes Styles off the top. Then Styles takes Austin out, but then Austin hits the rolling shotgun dropkick on Styles, taking him out to the outside, which is actually a really, really awesome spot in the match. Once we're back from break, we get a spinning backbreaker by Austin Theory. Then we get a cover into near fall. Then we get a right hand by Styles. Theory goes for a back body drop. Then we get a cover into near fall. Then we get a stomp by Austin Theory. Then he misses an elbow drop when Styles rolls out. Then we get a back elbow by Styles. Then he goes for the inverted DDT. That is classic. And I mean, when Styles hit that inverted DDT, and he's been doing this for the past couple of weeks on Raw in his matches, but when he does that inverted DDT, bro, that is classic. 2005, 2006 TNA AJ Styles, bro. You know, I want AJ Styles to, you know, I don't think he's going to watch this video, but like AJ Styles, at least, I know he's a little older and he's in his 40s, but bro, AJ Styles needs to do the spiral tap at least one more time in his career. Come on, do the spiral tap. That will give you flashbacks. But we get an inverted DDT by Styles. We get a clothesline by Styles. Styles goes for the phenomenal blitz. We get a neck breaker by Styles. We get a flying forearm by Styles. We get a cover into near fall. He proceeds to pick up Austin. We get a belly to back suplex by Theory. We get a cover into near fall. Styles goes for the jawbreaker, but then we get a boot by Theory. Then we get a rolling cutter by Theory. Then we get a cover and a near fall. We get a right hand by Theory. He takes AJ to the top after that. Then Austin tries to go for the top, going for a superplex, but then AJ Styles escapes. Then we get an elbow by Theory. Styles goes for the amazing Pele kick. Then we get Theory picks up Styles. AJ then rolls over for the calf crusher. Austin then goes for the bottom rope to go for the rope break. Then after that, Austin grabs the rope and tries to stop Styles from hitting the phenomenal forearm. We get a roll up by Theory, but then he gets his foot on the top rope. Then he gets caught by, you know, of course, he was cheating in the match. Of course, he's a typical heel. That's what heels do. Then AJ hits the phenomenal forearm cover, and AJ Styles goes over, beating Austin Theory in this match. Again, this was a good match, and, you know, Raw was not the best show, but it was definitely better than last week. And I will say, you know, the match was not bad, in my opinion, even though we saw this match already, but this match wasn't bad. It was a really good match. You know, I'm definitely really curious to see what they're going to be doing with AJ Styles on our way to WrestleMania in April. I do see him facing Edge. A lot of people are saying that. I hope that happens because AJ Styles, I mean, dude, the guy, number one, they should have never paired him with Omos last year. I thought it was really dumb because AJ Styles is literally a top tier main eventer, in my opinion. When you look at AJ Styles, this guy's a main eventer. And I remember I was looking at this tweet, and this is going to be a little bit off topic. And I saw this tweet yesterday, and, you know, it was asking people on Twitter, do you view AJ Styles as a TNA guy or a WWE guy? I actually replied, even though I really enjoyed AJ Styles' WWE run, even when he went to the WWE, you know, when he first went in the WWE back in 2016, you know, everybody knew who AJ Styles was, right? Everybody knew who AJ Styles was. If you didn't know who AJ Styles was at the time, what is wrong with you? But the thing about it is like everybody, you know, his WWE run in 2016, man, like this guy had an amazing debut year. Like this dude debuted at the Rumble, had a really good match with Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 32. You know, he had a awesome ass feud with John Cena, which I was there at SummerSlam 2016 for the second time when they faced off. Probably one of the best matches I've ever seen. And of course, you know, he won the WWE title like in September, like the next month. Like the guy, again, he had a really good WWE run, and so far, I'm really excited to see where they're gonna take him to WrestleMania this year. Hopefully, I pray that he's gonna have a match with Edge. But again, I view AJ Styles as a TNA guy because this guy held the company by his back. So it's a little bit off topic, but I view AJ Styles as a TNA guy, and that's why I say, like, this guy should do the spiral tap, in my opinion. But that was a little bit out of topic. We get a trailer for WWE 2K22, the video game, which I am not going to be buying because I'm not really that big of a gamer, in my opinion. And to be quite honest with you, the WWE 2K games are probably one of the worst games I ever played. I have 2K 15, 16, and 17. I played those games. Those games are not good. I grew up playing the SmackDown versus Raw games, and those games were much better, in my opinion. If there's a game that really is going to be bringing me back to video games, it's definitely going to be the AEW video game. That's just me. But again, I'm not the biggest gamer. That's just my view. That's just my opinion. I'm just not the biggest person to play video games. It's just my cup of tea. I will play video games sometimes, but it's just not my cup of tea. Like, I will tend to get bored like within like an hour or two. We get a Becky Lynch and Doudrop face to face via satellite. What are my thoughts on this? I did not care. Nobody cared. The crowd was flat out dead during this whole via satellite face to face interview between both Becky Lynch and Doudrop. First off, why did Doudrop win the Fatal 4? I think she won the Fatal 4-Way, right? A couple of weeks ago, I don't remember. If I don't remember stuff, that's because the show was that damn bad. But again, like, I don't know why they would book. As much as, good Doudrop is in the ring, they really booked her like a joke, in my opinion. She was really talented, but really, WWE Creative booked her like a joke. So why she is in this predicament, I do not know why, but they put her in this match against Becky Lynch, and, do I think it's going to be a good match? Honestly, I do not know. But, Becky wants to start. Here's a little summary of basically what they were talking about. She says that, the champ will go first, and then she just runs down verbally. Doudrop says that she was struggling to hold on to the title. Becky says that she didn't get a thank you, and Becky says at the Royal Rumble she's going to get a rude awakening. Becky then tells her to know her place. Then what happens in typical WWE fashion, because stuff like this always happens when they do segments like this. Doudrop leaves her room and then goes to Becky Lynch's room and then attacks her. That's basically the gist of it. We've seen this time and time again with segments like this, so it's really not that special. Am I excited for this match? Absolutely not. I'm just not. Really, the two matches that I'm excited about is Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. No, not Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, and Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. My bad if I got that wrong. Rey and Dominik Mysterio backstage. They talk about Rey Mysterio being on the cover of 2K22. Of course, Rey Mysterio talks about how it's an honor to be in the cover of 2K22 and says that it is a dope-ass game. I do not know. From the critics, about 2K20. A lot of people were saying 2K20 was arguably the worst wrestling game ever created. Do I think 2K22 is going to be good? I do not know because I really haven't played the 2K game, so I really shouldn't say anything. But Dominik says that he used to play those games when he was little. No, you didn't play the 2K games. You played the SmackDown versus Raw games, okay? I played the SmackDown versus Raw games. Those games were 10 times better than the current 2K games. They were so much fun. But it says it's an honor to carry the legacy. And then, Dominik talks about he wants to win the Royal Rumble and all that stuff. And, Rey is kind of curious, and he's like, you're going to have to eliminate me. And Rey thinks he's joking, but then Dominik is like, after you threw me over the top rope last week, I think I'm going to win. So we get another really good match between the Street Profits and Dominik and Rey Mysterio. The Street Profits are arguably the best tag team in the WWE right now, in my opinion. And that is for a company that really does not focus on tag team wrestling. The reason why I say that is because like 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, they had a Fatal 4-Way tag team match and the winner faces the Usos for the SmackDown tag titles, right? And 3 of those teams were not real tag teams. They were makeshift tag teams. The only real tag team right there was the Viking Raiders, and that's it. And the Usos even called it out. Like, the Usos on commentary are extremely entertaining to listen to on commentary. But they were on commentary and they were saying they're not real tag teams. That was the funniest shit ever. But we get the Street Profits versus Rey and Dominik Mysterio. This was a good match, really good match. Dominik and Angelo Dawkins start. We get a Hurricane Rana by Dominik out of nowhere. We get a couple of right forearms by Dominik. We get a back elbow by Dawkins. We get a cover and a near fall. But then Dominik sends Dawkins to the outside. Dominik goes for a Tumpe Suicida. Then we get a crossbody by Rey on Montez Ford. but then Rey sends him to the gets sent to the outside, I should say. But then Ford goes for a beautiful, and I mean a beautiful somersault, jumping over the top rope, landing onto the outside. I've stated this before, and I'll say it again. Montez Ford is going to be a main eventer for in 2 years, bro. Once they split up the Street Profits, which I do see happening probably maybe in 2 or 3 years, I guarantee you Montez Ford is going to be a flat out main eventer in my opinion, because the guy, he's really good on the microphone. You can tell he's really genuine, and the guy is really entertaining to listen to. Not only that, bro, this guy is one of the best in-ring wrestlers I've ever seen. The way he wrestles is really unique, and that's what really interests me about Montez Ford. Montez Ford is going to be a star, guaranteed. But I constantly say that every week on my Raw review because it's true. It's true. I constantly, every week, on my Raw review, I always put over Montez Ford because he is that damn good. But Montez Ford, he goes for a somersault on the outside. Then Dawkins is in control over Dominik. We get a right hand by Dawkins, and we get a cover and a near fall. We get a side headlock by Dawkins, and then Dominik gains control. He hits a tornado DDT on Angelo. Then after that, the hot tag is made. We get a Hurricane Rana by Rey. We get a right hand by Rey, but then Rey goes to the top. He hits a senton, but then later runs into Ford, throwing him face first to the mat. Then we get a splash by Ford. Later, Rey takes Ford to the middle rope. He wants to do a double 619 with Dominik, but eventually Dawkins, who is on the outside, takes Dominik, slides him out of the ring. But then Rey sends Ford to the other side of the middle rope. And then what happens? Rey rolls up Ford and wins the match. So Rey and Dominik win the match. And then after the match, when Dominik and Rey celebrate, Dominik tries to throw Rey over the top rope, of course, in retaliation of last week. But instead, Rey counters, and Rey is still the one left in the ring. But what happens? Ford then takes Rey over the top rope, but then Dawkins takes Ford over the top rope. But then out of nowhere, you had Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, or Robert Roode, or whatever the hell you want to call him, eliminates Dawkins, well, not eliminates, but throws Dawkins over the top rope. But then both the Street Profits and Rey and Dominik just go in and just go after the Dirty Dogs. I hate that name, the Dirty Dogs. It's one of the dumbest names I've ever heard. Yeah, they the baby faces attack the heels, and the baby faces stand tall. What can I tell you? Are they going to win the Royal Rumble? No, they're not. It's pretty obvious. Seth Rollins, we get a backstage interview with Seth Rollins. So he says he's going to give him inside information. And then after that, he says he's going to be going one-on-one against Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, and says he knows he can beat Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble because, of course, they wrestled multiple times, and Seth Rollins really got the best of Roman Reigns in those years prior. He knows that he has his number and says he is the only one that can put him in his place. And he's going to be making a last trip to SmackDown because he likes to deliver messages in person. So why do we have a brand split between Raw and SmackDown if Seth Rollins is a Raw guy? I know they're going to be wrestling. He's going to be wrestling Roman Reigns, but again, end the brand split because this whole roster split is a joke in 2022 because nobody is taking it seriously. I know I'm not. I took it seriously back in 2016 when they first brought it back because there was a legit distinction, but now the shows are basically the same. So really end the brand split. But Seth Rollins is going to be on SmackDown this Friday. In our last segment, in a segment that I just did not care about, in a segment that I wish should have happened in the middle of the show and instead should have Paul Heyman and MVP close the show in a verbal face-to-face segment between both managers. We had a stupid birthday celebration, which, again, I'm not a fan of these types of segments because you really know, it's pretty obvious on how it's going to turn out. Same as like a wrestling wedding. AEW did the same thing with the wrestling wedding. Now, granted, their wrestling wedding was a little bit entertaining, and, the wrestling wedding that happened at NXT 2.0, the first episode, I will admit was really entertaining, but at the same time, it's a wrestling show, so why do you have stuff like that? But that's just me. But we get Maryse's birthday celebration. There was a huge-ass box, and the first thing that I thought of is, like, somebody's in the box because it's, like, the oldest trick in the book. I've been watching wrestling for over 10 years now, so I know that there's a wrestler inside the box, but apparently that wasn't the case. The Miz then welcomes us to Maryse's birthday, and then, he welcomes Maryse. He asks her to open the first gift. The first gift is a portrait. Maryse is so happy, and she says that she feels more special than they had her first child, which, okay, whatever. Miz then says he brought up the line of security, so there will be no Edge and Beth Phoenix. You know they're going to be there. Then Maryse opens her second gift. It's a small glittery box. Then after that, Maryse sings... No, not Maryse. Miz sings Happy Birthday after that, but then Edge and Beth come out. Then after that, Edge basically cuts a promo saying that he won't have security to help them this Saturday at the Rumble. And then he said, what happens? Both Beth and Edge take out security. Miz and Maryse escape, but then Edge and Beth destroy the gifts. They hit a 3D on a random member of security. And then Edge powerbombs that person through a table, and then the show ends. So, yeah, that was the birthday celebration. What are my thoughts? I did not care at all because, number one, first off, this shouldn't have been the last segment of the show, in my opinion. This shouldn't have been the last segment of the show. In my opinion, it should have been at least a face-to-face segment between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. That shouldn't have been the first segment on the show. That should have been the last segment on the show, but instead, they went, all right, we're going to have that as the first segment, and the whole birthday celebration is going to be in the last segment. But, yeah, what are my thoughts on this week's episode of Raw? It is the go-home show before the Royal Rumble. And overall thoughts, this wasn't really, in my opinion, a good go-home show. Was it better than previous weeks? Because, the past few weeks, and, in general, Raw has been terrible for, the past how many years now? But I will say, this was not, it was not that bad. There were some moments in the match that I just did not care whatsoever. There were some things on the show where I thought was just completely bad. Like, for example, the DQ finish between Damian Priest and Kevin Owens. I thought that was really stupid. WWE really needs to stop the habit of, number one, booking constant rematches for television. Because the whole purpose of television is to really grab the viewer in and make them want to buy the pay-per-view. And, again, I say this all the time. If we had to order the Royal Rumble on traditional pay-per-view, I wouldn't pay fucking $50 for it. Thankfully, it's on Peacock, and I only pay $4 a month. But but I'm just saying, if they still had pay-per-views on traditional pay-per-view, I wouldn't pay the full pay-per-view price for it, in my opinion. But thankfully, WWE pay-per-views are no longer on traditional pay-per-views. Now, for AEW pay-per-views, granted, AEW pay-per-views only happen 4 times a year, and I would pay $50 for them those 4 times because of the fact that the product is really that damn good. Get mad at me, Marks. I do not care. Do not call me a shill, whatever. I genuinely believe that. I don't care what anybody says. I believe that. AEW is the much better product. But overall, Raw was an okay show. It wasn't amazing. Was it amazing? No, it wasn't amazing. Was it terrible, terrible bad? No, but it wasn't amazing. It was like an okay show. I've seen way worse. Last week's show was absolutely terrible. But this week's show, for a go-home show, I'll give it a pass. But, there were some things that were entertaining on it. The wrestling, the matches that were on the show were not bad, in my opinion. There were really good matches on this show. But to be quite honest with you, do I think this show is going to be like this every week? Absolutely not. They're going to be going right back to square one the next week, and it's going to be a terrible show. But, yeah, that was my Raw review from January 24th, 2022. Overall thoughts on the show. Again, it was an show. I didn't really care as much. There were some things that I liked, some things that I enjoyed, some things that I did not like, and some things that I just did not care about. But that is Raw for you. Of course, the Royal Rumble is going to be this Saturday on Peacock. Guys, be on the lookout. If you guys did not watch New Shock last night, I uploaded New Shock last night. I talk about Bully Ray's comments on Jon Moxley, the whole Free Ali tweet. I gave you guys my brief thoughts on the World on GCW. Not only that, tomorrow I'm going to be coming to you guys with episode 2 of Old School Showcase, in which I'm going to be discussing the debut episode of ECW on Sci-Fi from June 13th, 2006, because it is a really famous episode, and for all the wrong reasons, but I'm going to be talking about that. First, I got the SmackDown review, I got the Dynamite review, then the SmackDown and Rampage reviews. I will be coming to you guys with a special video, discussing my predictions for the Royal Rumble, because it's going to be happening this Sunday. So yeah, there's a lot of things there's a lot of shows happening, of course, this week. But yeah, be on the lookout for those videos, and please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos. As always, this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast, signing out.